Hi guys, it's Nevaeh. I'm here to sprinkle a story on you guys. I'm going to be talking about how I'm 19 and have my own apartment as a teen mom and college student. It would be nice to tell you guys a story about me sitting here and doing it all by myself, but the truth is I really needed God along this journey, and he sent me people in my life that he knew I would need to help me get to where I need to be. So a bit of a background is I knew that I wanted to be successful for like a long time in my life. I've known since I was younger. By the time I was 13, I had my mindset on going to UCLA, having my own place. I didn't really think much about being a dorm student, but I always knew I wanted to go to college. I always see myself being a mom. I always see myself having my own place. Like, I always see myself having a future, but I never thought that I'd end up being a mom so young, of course. But like, I've always known from a young age what I wanted. A core moment for me was in my 7th grade year. At the end of the year, the teachers started giving out papers and asking the students what they wanted to be. If you were in 7th grade, at the end of the year, all 7th grade teachers would give out papers, and it would be like, you'd have to fill out 3 colleges you'd like to go to, what you wanted to be, what you see yourself doing, and they would make all the 7th graders do that. On my paper, I put UCLA. That's exactly what I wanted to do. At the time, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and like now where I'm at in life, I could not see myself doing that at all, but that's what I wanted at the time. Fast forward to my freshman year, I was 15, and my mom decided that she'd help this young mom out and take care of her baby, because at that time she was in no position to take care of him. So she asked my mom to take care of him, and of course my mom talked to me about it. She was like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, yes, I love babies. I love being around babies. And I was like, of course. And I told my mom, I'll help you out, like whatever you need. I was so excited for the baby to be there. So for my freshman year, I started helping taking care of the baby. But it was difficult for me to balance out school online because of COVID and taking care of the baby. I was doing schoolwork, and I just told my mom, like, I need to go to Learn for Life. It's too much for me. I needed to go to a different school that would work with my schedule more, because helping her take care of the baby and trying to make it to all of those classes on time and be in the honors classes that I was in was just like very overwhelming for me. So I transferred to a school called Learn for Life, and that school was very nice for me, because instead of having to like do every single thing on a teacher's schedule, make sure I'm getting assignments turned in on time, and have to wake up at certain times, all I had to do was make sure I had all the work that I need on Monday, have all the work that I need, and turn it in by Friday. I didn't even have to turn it in on Friday. Like, I could turn it in whenever I wanted to, but that's pretty much what I would do. I would do my work, pick up work, get it all done at home, and then take it back to the school. And if I wanted to, I could sit there at the school and do my work, excuse me, but I didn't always do it that way during that year, my sophomore year. Fast forward a year after that, I was 16, and one of the hardest things happened for me. His mom decided that she'd rather have him somewhere else with his family, and that was pretty hard on me. And at the same time, I found out I was pregnant with Cambria. So I'm going through a transitional stage of life without him and dealing with the fact that I'm 16 and pregnant. Now, my 16 and pregnant story, that I could leave for a different video. I'm sure you guys would love to hear that. Yeah, I was 16 and pregnant, and my life took a turn. I wouldn't say it took a turn for the worse, because everything happens for a reason, but during that period of time, I definitely feel like life had taken a turn, and that I was no longer thinking about just my future and myself. I had to think about the future of another human being. I was going through this new period of life that I was trying to navigate, basically. Now, I was 16. I got pregnant around the beginning of me turning 16. I also had my daughter whenever I was 16. Whenever I was 3 months pregnant, I decided that I would be getting a job. So I got a job. I worked there for about 2 years. So I worked there throughout my entire pregnancy. I got the 6 weeks off whenever it was time for me to give birth. And then I went back and I kept working there, and I hit my 2-year mark. Around this 2-year mark, I'm still going to school. I'm still making sure I'm getting my homework done. There would be moments when I did prioritize the money more than school, but I still made sure that I did my schoolwork. And then after the 2-year mark, I decided that I wasn't getting paid enough, and there was other problems. So I applied at Applebee's, and I prayed about it. I was praying to God, because around this time, like, I had a car payment. I just had things to take care of, and I was helping my mom out a little bit. So I got my job at Applebee's. Thankfully, God got me that job. I forgot to mention, while I was still working at my first job, I became a senior. And around the beginning of my senior year, they were hiring new staff at the school I was working, the school I was going to. And I would take Cambria to school with me and go in this little parenting room in the back. And we're in that parenting room. There was this tutor that sat there, and she was very, I don't know if she worked with my main teacher that would sit in that room, but this new tutor was there, and her name was Miss Chanel. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying her name, but I would tell her my dreams and stuff like that, and how I wanted to go to UCLA. And as soon as I told her, she was like, I could really see you there. And she was just like very encouraging of my dreams. And that was me with my baby next to me. Coming to find out, Miss Chanel had actually went to UCLA, and she would be a big part of my journey. While I was working, I was going through a lot of stuff. I was dealing with car payments and trying to just balance out being a parent, going to school, working. And I was starting to think like, okay, is me going to a university the best option for me? I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to chase my dreams. But I was like, is this the best for me? Is leaving home going to be the best for me? And I think I started to gain a little bit of doubt. I was nervous about like having a job, how things were going to work for me, and having a place, not being able to go to school with a child. I would look up on YouTube videos, and I would search teen parents who go to college and leave home and go to college, and I could never find anything. I could never find things about teen parents and universities. That's why I feel like I have to have a YouTube channel to share my story, because I could not find anything like that. So I'm starting to gain a little bit of doubt, getting a little worried. And Miss Chanel, she would tell me like, just apply. Make sure you're doing everything that you need to do the requirements as if you're going to a university. Even if you do decide to go to a college, make sure you're getting the units done that university is required, just in case you do decide that you still want to go to UCLA, because that's where I was so set on going. So I'm applying to colleges. She's helping me out. I'm working at Applebee's. I'm doing all the stuff that I need to get done. And I'm just waiting. Months are going by. And I had applied to 5 colleges. I didn't apply to any, I didn't apply to any communities. Miss Chanel actually motivated me just to apply to universities. I applied to 5 universities: UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, Berkeley, and Irvine. And I got accepted into 4 of them, but I did not get accepted into Berkeley. At least I didn't see any emails or anything come from them, so it don't matter, because I got into the dream school that I wanted to get into. I got into UCLA. Helped me apply to these apartments for students or staff members, but people who went to UCLA. So she helped me apply for these apartments. Long story short, I have a 2-bedroom apartment. I pay rent here. I live with my daughter. It's 1 bathroom. And honestly, I'm living in a dream. I'm living the life that I always wanted to live, but with a child. And I did not always know that I could do that. I always knew I still wanted to. I feel like whenever it came to my decision of applying to only universities, or even my decision of going to college and having my own place and leaving home, ultimately was for my daughter. I feel like some people say like they have kids, so they have to stop, and they want to pay attention to their kids, and so they decide not to go to college so they could focus on their kids more, because they wouldn't have time with school. And honestly, if you feel like that's what God really wants for you, because God wants different things for different people, if you feel like that's really what God wants for you, that's okay. Stay home with your baby and do what you need to do to live and give your child the life that you feel like you should be giving your child. But I feel like for me personally, I feel like God did call for me to go to school. I feel like God called for me to live in abundance, be successful. And even though right now it's hard for me to give my full attention to my daughter and pay attention to her the way that I wish I could if I didn't have to go to school, I feel like He knows that for this period of time in her life that it's going to be worth it in the future. And by the time she's like 5, I'm hoping I'm done, and then I could work and do what I need to do. But also, I'm trying to do something with this YouTube channel, so that would make things a little bit easier on me too. if you guys want to subscribe and like. But I feel like I'm giving my daughter the best life that I could be possibly giving her, and I'm working towards what is meant for me and her. So that's where I'm at in life right now. I'm very fortunate to have this apartment. In these apartments, all you see is like sometimes staff members who work at UCLA. You'll see staff members and they'll live here with like their husband or their husband and kids. Sometimes you'll see couples live here who are either married or have a domestic partnership, and excuse me, they'll live here. They'll be here, and at least if one of them is a college student. Or sometimes you see people like me who have one child and they get their own apartment. So it's a really nice community here. I'm very fortunate. Rent out here in LA is ridiculous, if any of you guys were wondering, but it is beautiful out here. I love it out here, and yeah, I'm just so grateful to be in the position that I'm in, to have got accepted, to have had kept straight A's while I was still in high school, and make sure I was doing what I needed to do. But yeah, that's really how I got here. That's how I got my own apartment. I just applied to an apartment with the apartment that was for family housing, so I didn't have to worry about having credit or any of that because I was a student at UCLA. So that was pretty nice, and now I have a rent history for the future if I did ever want to move anywhere. So that's pretty nice. A lot of people wonder, like, do you take her to your dorm room? Like, I'm not a dorm student. I do live in my own apartment, and yeah, that's just how my life is. I just need to remind you guys that I could not have done any of this without God. If God didn't send somebody into my life or send multiple people throughout my life that he knew would help me, there's so many people along this story that I forgot to mention because they helped me. If it was little, small, if they pay for things, like whenever I first moved out here, my aunts helped me a lot. Teachers. I couldn't sit here and name everybody, but God made sure so many things worked out in my favor. When I thought, there was points of times in the story where I thought things weren't gonna work or things were going horribly, and God turned them around for the greater good. So I just want to let you guys know that if you guys are doubting where you guys are at in life, or if you guys need help getting to the next level, you guys have to have faith that God will do it for you, because he really will. And that's the only reason that I'm able to live the life that I'm living right now. And I'm gonna try to be more grateful and mindful of that sometimes, because I forget that I'm literally living in answered prayers. I used to pray my way to where I'm at right now. I was a senior praying to God to help me finish school, help me get A's, to make sure that I got into my dream school. I was literally praying for these things. This wasn't just me doing all this stuff off of my own strength. I did not do this alone. I needed God throughout this entire story. So that's why whenever I came on here and I started this story, I mentioned how I needed God, because there'll be periods of time where without God's help, without him answering my prayers, I don't know how I would have got here. But that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. Please give it a like, a comment if you made it this far, and a thumbs up. Holla at your girl, and be real or be real. Mwah.